What's going on in the marketplace right now? This isn't a complete universal statement, but based off my pulse and tons of people that I get to speak to in this market and work with, things are slowing down, right? And we had the state of the recruiting industry back in October of 2022. Folks that I had on was obviously starting to see the market move. You guys obviously experiencing some of the layoffs and things like that. Point's not to be doom and gloom here. The point is to just face the reality that there's some shifting going on in the market. Some of you are facing this, feeling the impacts of this far more. And so, what happens when in the recruiting industry, like what happens when these market shifts? Well, that means there's less work to go around, which means that competition becomes fierce. That means that some recruiting agencies and recruiters that don't have good systems in place, unfortunately, may not survive a market like this. And so the key isn't to become a option, it's to become the only option, to become the only choice. And in this training, we're going to lay out exactly how you can do that for your recruiting agency so that you can separate yourself from the pack. Because in a market like this, companies are still going to hire, they're still going to use third-party recruiting agencies, but they're probably going to be a little bit more careful about where those dollars go. And so they're going to be looking to work with companies that they're probably 100% certain can deliver them the results that they're after. I think a big part of that is be working with specialists in the market. So my question to you right now is, do you have the need to take on more clients? Do you feel a shift in the marketplace? Do you have capacity to take on more clients? Let's talk about how do we solve this challenge? How do we become first choice in the marketplace? A couple of weeks ago, I went live, and in that video, we talked about, really positioning yourself as a trusted advisor rather than being a recruiter. And if you haven't had a chance to watch that training, that's on my YouTube channel, or you can find it here on my Facebook page. But basically, that main principle is going to be really, really relevant as we go through this here. So the first thing that I would recommend in order to stand out and become the first choice in the market is really understanding what your core target market is. And if you follow me, this is definitely redundant, but this is such a key component. The key for you to become the first choice is for your audience to know that you are trying to become the first choice for them. I bring this up on my sales calls all the time, that 90%, 95% of the reason that people hop on the phone call with me is simply because of my relevance. People know that I exist and I help recruiting firms, search firms, staffing firms, build out online lead generation systems and generate inbound leads as a result of that. And so just that clarity and them knowing that I exist for them is crucial. And this has nothing to do with the ability to recruit. It's just making sure that your markets know that, like, you are there for them. You are the specialist in that space. You are the expert in that arena. And then again, like we talked about in that training before, is like, you want to become viewed as like the trusted advisor. You don't want to become an order taker. And especially in a market like this, if you're priding yourself off of contingent orders right now, challenges, you're probably going to be pretty busy, but you're probably not going to make as much revenue as you could if you actually were striving more for partnerships. And again, if you're that first choice, then I'm not just one of them thrown in the middle, right? So once I understand my target market, that allows me to really start to build out those differentiators and position myself as being the trusted authority and stand out for my digital presence. Now, the next thing that really is challenging for most recruiting firms, especially when we're looking at getting more, is do you have a business development process and system in place? And so, having a system in place is really where the companies that are going to thrive and be able to capitalize on these uncertain markets are usually companies that are very tight with their systems. They have things that are ongoing. They're not emotionally reacting to the market. They're just staying trusted with their process, because a lot of times when the market starts to shift, people panic. And when they panic, the biggest thing that usually happens to us is we don't take action. And so if you can just stick with your machine and stick to your system, then better things are gonna happen, and just kind of taking that long-term mindset. But one of the things that we want to do is we need to expose you in your company to new audiences. So that's got to be a part of the plan, because, if your existing client base went away, or if you've been operating on a couple of key accounts and they've slowed down or gone through some layoffs or some hiring freezes and things like that, if you don't have a network of people, then this is where you're going to become challenged. And so, yeah, if you have a good community and you've got a good system in place, then there's going to be some awareness. But that's the biggest thing you want to focus on next, is driving more attention and more awareness towards your brand or towards your own personal brand, so that they can actually see that you're a trusted advisor. It's one thing for us to work on positioning, but if we're not getting ourselves in front of our audience, then it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good of a recruiter I am if I can't expose myself to more potential opportunities. So, having a plan in place to consistently grow your audience of prospective hiring decision makers is key. Now, this is where it kind of becomes muddy, right? Because I think that most people should be having some sort of aggressive outbound approach, but that's what you want to be aware of is if everybody's doing the same thing, how do I truly stick out and stand out in the marketplace? And so usually people, what happens in these situations is if you don't have a system in place, then what shows up first is desperation, and your market can sense it. They start to see you connecting and trying to sell them as fast as they possibly can, not trying to really truly build a relationship, not truly seeing if you can help that client or candidate, but you're just going out, reaching out and transacting, and people can sniff that out, and especially in slow markets like this. And when you start to think about it, that your competition is going to be behaving the same way because the whole market is shrinking in some industries. And again, I'm not making universal statements. I know there's some industries that are moving along fine, but if the rest of my competition is doing the same thing, then I'm just kind of getting myself caught up in this red ocean with tons of competition. I'm not sticking out. And so when you're driving awareness is the first step, but then I need to capture their attention. And the easiest way to capture people's attention, especially when I'm reaching out to people on LinkedIn, is not to actually pitch and sell my services, but it's actually just start dialogue and ask questions that are that are relevant to the industry that you're trying to serve, so that you can, ultimately ask somebody a question they just simply can't refuse to answer. So I can get into dialogue and I can build a relationship with somebody. And so, I want to be building awareness every single day by growing my audience on LinkedIn. And then I want to have a creative outreach approach that isn't focused on trying to transact and sell, because it's just going to fall on deaf ears in a market like this. I'm not saying you won't pick up a win or two, but the idea here in a market like this is to try to survive and pick up wins, but it's also to plan for the future and build that pipeline. And if I'm just trying to sell right now when the market's not receptive to that, I'm not getting anybody's attention, right? So that's what brings into this next point, which is if you go into a content strategy, now you can capture the attention of the market that isn't hiring right now, but might be hiring in Q2, Q3, or Q4 this year by simply starting to add value, by leading and by connecting with the audience. So this is the big part about, how do you become the first choice is rather than you tell your market how good you are, you're just going to show your market how you're good. And so one of the things, like I said, is right now I would be leading with a lot of value in the marketplace. What type of value can you do to lead the candidates in your marketplace that might have been laid off? And not virtue signaling BS about, oh, I'm just so sad about these layoffs. That's all fine and good. And I understand the empathy but like, what can you actually do to help these individuals? What can you do to create an impact? What can you do to help these organizations that might have to lay people off right now, but know that in a couple of quarters, you might have to ramp up some things again, or maybe there's some replacement people that they need to hire. How can I add value to these organizations in this time? And how-tos and tips and tricks and busting myths for them, is a great way to establish yourself as becoming that first choice. Now, really, first choice is more of a common thing. I call it being the relevant recruiter in your market. And so to be the relevant recruiter in the market, like the first thing is like being able to add value. The next thing is like leading your market. Your market needs leadership right now. Your candidates need leadership. They need somebody to look up to that's going to help, that they can build confidence that there's hope, there's light at the end of this tunnel. Your clients need leadership on what they can do to, again, best make sure that they're keeping a loaded pipeline when their needs may be picking up, or even if they are busy right now. Like, how can you lead them? What are the mistakes that they're making? What are the common frustrations that you have? What are the things that they should be doing in this market right now? And don't assume that they know. Be the leader. Step out in front, lead your market. And then, this is one of the things that I think is crucially important that you can accomplish with your content. And it's the thing that people overlook the most is most people do business with people that they like. I mean, would you guys agree, if you're listening to me, like, do you work with companies and people that you like? And likability is like the most, I don't do business with people that I don't like. And so there's an easy way to connect with people on your content by just sharing your values, by sharing your interests, by sharing your beliefs, by letting me know that you have a family and you like sports and things like that. So I can just build some straight up human connection. If you go to a networking event, you usually don't just come in, start pitching and talking about business. Even though a networking event is for business, it's usually starting by conversations where we can create some commonality and some human connection in our life. Oh, and then business becomes a natural part of that. And so right now, if you look at it from a client standpoint, and they're not going to be hiring at the same rate as they were before, so they're probably going to be more selective on the third-party agencies that they're working with. So what do they want to know? Well, they want to, first and foremost, we just need to get them to know you. That's why we need to drive awareness that you actually exist. Then we need to get them to like you, right? Because people do business with people that they like. And then they need to trust you. What does that mean in this world? They need to trust that you can deliver the results. And so being able to share that you are proven, that you've got open positions, that you've got people that, that you've already placed, like you need to be talking about your track record right now. And you need to be sharing and showing people how you're winning right now, because people want to work with winners. And so, that's a crucial important part with your content. Is your content is actually going to be one of the key things to really getting you to become the first choice in this marketplace. Because right now there's going to be two ways that this industry is going to approach it. There's going to be the ones that go out that are going to be desperate, and they're going to appear desperate, and they're going to try to connect and sell to everybody that they come across. And there's going to be another group that is playing the long game, that is going to be more relational focused. And by playing the long game, they're actually going to win more short term because their approach is better. So which bucket and which category do you want to be a part of? Okay, now one of the key things about becoming the first choice is staying top of mind when the need arises. Just because we come out, we've got great value because we're leading our market, doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're going to start hiring. They don't hire because the recruiter's good and good at marketing. They hire when it makes sense for their business. And so it's your job to make sure that you and your firm are there when the need arises. And that's why it's really, really important to have a good follow-up strategy on email, on your social media channels. At some point in time, it makes sense probably for you to do some paid advertisement, doing some retargeting and remarketing. And that's when somebody visits your website and then you follow them around with ads, and all I'm trying to do is stay top of mind, so when their need arises. And that's why I think, going back into that content thing, if you guys never read Chet Holmes' The Ultimate Sales Machine, it's a great book. I think it's a must for anybody in sales and recruiting. Chet Holmes, kind of a classic. And in one of the chapters there, he kind of draws out this analogy of, if there's 1,000 people in the audience, and he's actually done this at his speaking events, like if there's 1,000 people in the audience and you were to ask right now who's actually in the market to buy a car, or who's in the market to buy almost any household type of item, it's really 3%. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard this statistic before, but like 3% is an active buyer. And, in our case situation, it's an active hirer, right? So if I were to constantly go out knowing that there's a 3% of the market, now we're going to constantly be putting myself into a room with 1,000 people, and all I was trying to do to transact, and pretty much in essence what I'm doing is 97% of the market is not going to connect with my message at that point in time because they're not in the market to buy. But let's use a car analogy. Let's go back to that. So if I were to come out, and probably majority of you guys watching this aren't in the market to buy a car. So if I were to run an ad right now on this show about, this new Chevy Silverado and this great deal on financing that you can get right now, you're not even going to be interested in it because you're not in the market to buy a car. But if I were to come around and say, hey, here's 3 tips on how you can save gas money, I'd probably be pretty sure that I can capture attention of about 97% of the audience, because nobody likes the gas prices right now in this country, right? So that's the idea, is like, where can I capture the audience and their attention right now? So when their need arises, they have actually accepted some of my messaging. And so many of us get in the habit of that connect and pitch and that desperation that we never even get to second base with this person because they've already cut us off. And it's just simply from our approach. So again, right now, it's not good enough. You can't be an option. You need to be fighting with all your might and all your will to become the first choice, to become the relevant recruiter in your market, so that you can thrive in a market like this. Plenty of clients out there that are still thriving, that are still trying to push revenue goals. And again, when I'm coming on here, I'm not saying that everything is doom and gloom, but I think there's a lot of writing on the walls right now that it's time to start buckling things up. It's time to start tightening the ship. It's time to start viewing yourself as being the leader, the authority, and that only choice in the marketplace. So if that's something you're ready to take on right now, send me a direct message. We'll talk to you exactly how we're helping people build out authoritative brands and generating inbound leads as a result of that, and ultimately loading a pipeline and finding success in any market, because this is what business is about. And if you're running a recruiting business, you don't have a system like this set up in place, in my opinion, it's the most important thing you can do, because if without clients, you don't have a business. You don't have it. I don't care how good of a recruiter you are. If you don't have clients that you can service, there's nothing more frustrating, if you're a really good recruiter and if that's what you view, to not be able to go and share your greatness with the world and generate the impact that you can have, simply because of your inability to go generate clients. So if you're ready for that help, send me a direct message and we will talk about how we can help you get there. There's no pressure in this call. The very least that happens from this call is you walk away with a complete clear strategy on the action you need to take. If it makes sense for us to work together, I'll throw you out my offer of what I can do and how I think it can help, and we can go from there. But don't be sitting and waiting right now. It's not the time. Now's the time to double down. Now's the time to pin it. Now's the time to focus on this, because there's going to be a group of recruiters, somebody will have to say it, so it'll be me, that are going to go away, that are going to go out of business. And then there's going to be a group that's going to capture market share. It happens every single time. Every single time there's a little shift in the market. So which side of the coin are you going to be on this time? Which side of it are you going to be on? And it's all about the actions and the choices that you decide to take. So your first choice, drop that comment in the direct message so you and I can talk. Have a great week. Talk to you guys soon.